Kody Brown just got hit with something he never saw coming, and honestly, the look on his face says it all. Aurora Brown, his daughter with Robyn, is officially dating someone new. And you'd think Kody would be happy for her, right? Wrong. Instead, he's dusting off his rarely used father hat and delivering some of the most problematic advice about chastity and purity you've ever heard. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Aurora isn't buying it anymore. She's done playing by his rules, done nodding along to lectures that never made sense, and done pretending that her father's outdated beliefs have any place in her life. Sources close to the family whisper that Aurora has completely checked out of Kody's purity culture playbook, and the tension behind closed doors is explosive. Kody's sitting there telling Aurora's new boyfriend that when you're just dating, you're essentially kissing another man's wife until she becomes your wife. Let that sink in for a second. He's literally telling this young man that Aurora doesn't belong to herself, that her body, her choices, her future are all wrapped up in some hypothetical husband she hasn't even met yet. And if that's not controlling enough, Kody adds that the boyfriend's job is to protect Aurora even from himself. What does that even mean? Protect her from what exactly? From making her own choices? From living her life? The whole conversation is dripping with this possessive patriarchal nonsense that treats Aurora like property instead of a grown woman with her own agency. But Aurora's not having it. Word on the street suggests she's been quietly rebelling for months now, maybe even longer. She pierced her ears, which in the Brown household was apparently treated like some gateway to moral collapse. She's out here dating, living her life, making decisions without asking for Kody's permission or approval, and the best part, she's not apologizing for any of it. Insiders claim that every time Kody tries to lecture her about purity or chastity or whatever outdated sermon he's recycled from his fundamentalist upbringing, Aurora just shuts down. She's not engaging, she's not arguing, she's simply living her truth and letting Kody stew in his own hypocrisy. And let's be real, the hypocrisy here is staggering. This is the same man who got caught getting cozy with Robyn while another one of his wives was literally in labor. The same man who admitted during season 19 that he was far from chaste before marriage. Yet here he is preaching to his daughter about protecting her purity like he's some moral authority. The audacity is almost impressive. Aurora sees right through it, and she's done pretending otherwise. The rebellion isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and absolutely devastating to Kody's ego. He's left speechless, watching his daughter slip further and further away from the control he thought he had. And honestly, it's about time. Let's talk about the sheer audacity of Kody Brown standing there lecturing Aurora's boyfriend about chastity and respect, when his own track record is messier than a reality TV reunion special. During a recent episode teaser, Kody laid down the law with Aurora's new guy, telling him straight up that his job is to protect Aurora even from himself. And then came the real kicker. Kody said that when you're just dating someone, you're essentially kissing another man's wife until she becomes your wife. And if she doesn't become your wife, well, you've been kissing another man's wife the whole time. The logic is twisted, possessive, and honestly a little creepy when you break it down. But what makes this entire situation absolutely infuriating is that Kody has zero moral high ground to stand on here. Let's rewind to the elephant in the room that everyone keeps bringing up. Kody and Robyn were caught canoodling before they were married. Not just holding hands or sharing a sweet moment, we're talking full-on premarital intimacy while one of Kody's other wives was in labor. In labor. Let that level of disrespect marinate for a second. The man couldn't even wait until his child was born before getting cozy with his future wife. And now he's got the nerve to preach about purity and chastity to his daughter? The comments section on every Sister Wives forum is absolutely roasting him for this, and honestly, they're not wrong. But here's where it gets even more twisted. Kody and Robyn have their convenient little excuse ready to go. In their particular offshoot of Mormonism, there's this belief in predestiny. They think baby spirits exist in heaven and get sent down to specific parents. So in Kody and Robyn's minds, they were destined to be together. They were soulmates before they even met. And because Robyn's first marriage wasn't a legal one at first, just a spiritual ceremony, they can justify their premarital behavior with a bunch of semantic gymnastics. They call each other soulmates, claim they were always meant to be, and suddenly all that premarital foreplay gets a free pass. Rules for thee, but not for me, right? And Kody's not alone in this hypocrisy. We've seen the same excuse play out on other polygamy shows like Seeking Sister Wife. Garrick Merrifield used similar logic to justify getting intimate with potential wives before marriage. These These men are incredibly selective about which Bible verses they follow and which ones they conveniently ignore. They'll condemn behavior in others while excusing the exact same actions in themselves because of some spiritual loophole they've invented. If Robyn's purity always belonged to Cody because they were predestined soulmates, does it even matter when he took it? And yes, that sounds exactly as problematic as you think it does. The mental gymnastics required to maintain this level of cognitive dissonance is Olympic level, but Cody and Robyn have perfected the routine. They've convinced themselves that their situation was different, special, exempt from the rules they're now trying to force on Aurora. And Aurora, she's watching all of this unfold and thinking, absolutely not anymore. If you've been following Sister Wives for any length of time, you know about Robyn's infamous purity speech from season 6. And if you somehow missed it, buckle up because it's one of the most cringeworthy, problematic moments in the entire series. Robyn gathered her kids around, including Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, and told them this deeply disturbing story about a girl who gave away her purity. The way Robyn told it, this girl gave her purity to someone who begged for it, and he didn't respect it. He threw it on the ground, and she spent her whole life trying to get it back. But you only have one, Robyn explained, and it broke this girl's heart. She spent her entire existence being sad about it. And then when she finally found the guy she was supposed to be with, she had to go to him and apologize. She had to say, look, I gave away my purity to someone else. He kind of stole it from me. This was supposed to be yours, but I gave it to someone else, and I'm so sorry. The implications here are absolutely chilling. Robyn's story heavily suggests that this girl, who we all know represents Robyn herself, was assaulted. She says the guy begged for it, that he stole it, that it wasn't respected. Those are not the words you use to describe a consensual relationship. And the fact that Dayton was sitting right there listening to what sounds like a veiled admission that his conception might have been the result of assault, that's beyond inappropriate. Aurora and Brianna were there too, absorbing this twisted narrative about purity, ownership, and shame. The whole speech was designed to scare them into compliance, to make them believe that one mistake would ruin them forever. But here's where it gets even messier. Robyn's ex-husband, the biological father of Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, has never spoken publicly to confirm or deny Robyn's version of events. He's stayed completely silent while Robyn has painted this picture of a man who essentially violated her. Yet when you listen to Robyn describe her own rebellious teenage years, it sounds a lot more like she made choices she later regretted, not that she was assaulted. Regret and assault are not the same thing. They're not even in the same universe. And by framing her past through the lens of stolen purity, Robyn is unfairly accusing her ex-husband of something incredibly serious without ever explicitly saying it. The entire purity speech operates on this idea that a woman's value is tied to her virginity, and that once it's gone, she's damaged goods. Robyn positioned her purity as something that always belonged to Cody, even before they met, because of their supposed predestined connection. So her ex-husband was essentially a thief in this narrative, taking something that was never his to begin with. It's a dangerous, harmful message that removes personal accountability and twists the concept of consent into something unrecognizable. And Aurora was forced to sit there and absorb every word of it. Now let's dig into what's really at the heart of Cody's disturbing advice to Aurora's boyfriend, because this goes way deeper than just outdated beliefs about dating. When Cody says that Aurora's purity belongs to her future husband, he's not just being old-fashioned or overprotective. He's fundamentally stripping Aurora of her bodily autonomy and her right to consent. Think about what he's actually saying here. If Aurora's purity doesn't belong to Aurora, then who exactly is the owner? According to Cody's logic, it's some man she hasn't even married yet. Some hypothetical future husband who apparently has more claim to Aurora's body than Aurora herself does. The implications of this are absolutely terrifying when you break them down. Purity culture, the way Kody Brown is talking about it, completely disregards the concept of consent. It shapes beliefs about who owns and controls bodies, what counts as appropriate behavior, and when someone is even allowed to set boundaries. This often leads to coercive dynamics, internalized shame, and completely blurred lines around what true consent actually means. If Aurora doesn't own her own purity, then what Cody is saying without explicitly spelling it out is that the owner of Aurora's purity can come take it whenever they want. Whether Aurora wants that or not becomes irrelevant because her consent isn't required when she's not the owner. Let that sink in for a second. Cody is inadvertently teaching his daughter that her voice doesn't matter when it comes to her own body. Consent should be freely given, it should be reversible, informed, specific, specific, and enthusiastic at every single stage of a relationship, regardless of past or potential future beliefs. But purity culture teaches the opposite. It teaches young women that their bodies are vessels to be protected, guarded, and eventually handed over to the right man. It removes their agency in the equation entirely. Aurora is being told that her primary job is to stay pure for someone else's benefit, not for her own well-being or her own choices. And if she fails at that job, then she's damaged. She's broken. She's the girl from Robyn's speech who spent her whole life sad and apologizing for not being pristine. Here's an important distinction that purity culture conveniently ignores. Regret does not equal revoked consent. You can't accuse someone of taking advantage of you simply because you regret a decision you made. Consent has to happen before or during the act. If your consent was present during that time, then your purity wasn't stolen. But purity culture conflates regret with assault, and that's incredibly dangerous. It gives people like Robyn the ability to reframe their past choices as violations, which not only diminishes actual assault survivors, but also unfairly vilifies ex-partners who may have done nothing wrong. Aurora is stuck in the middle of all this toxic messaging, and sources suggest she's finally starting to see through it. She's realizing that her body belongs to her, not to Cody, not to Robyn, and not to some future husband who may or may not exist. That realization is everything, and it's why her quiet rebellion is so powerful. Let's address the massive elephant in the room that makes Cody's purity lectures even more infuriating. The gender double standard in purity culture is absolutely staggering, and Kody Brown is Exhibit A. During season 19, viewers learned something that honestly wasn't surprising but was still shocking to hear out loud. Cody admitted that he was far from chaste before marriage. He was, by his own admission, promiscuous. He had multiple relationships, he wasn't saving himself for anyone, and he certainly wasn't worried about protecting his own purity for his future wives. Yet here he is, standing in front of Aurora's boyfriend, preaching about chastity like he's some moral authority on the subject. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife. This is how purity culture has always operated. Men get a pass. Their past relationships are chalked up to experience, to sowing wild oats, to just being young and figuring things out. But women are expected to remain pristine, untouched, pure as driven snow until their wedding night. And if they don't, they're shamed, labeled, treated like damaged goods. Cody can have an entire promiscuous past and still lecture his daughters about protecting their purity for their future husbands. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely mind-blowing. But that's the foundation purity culture is built on. Different rules for men and women wrapped up in religious justification and patriarchal control. The buzz in online communities is that this double standard has not gone unnoticed by Cody's kids, especially his daughters. They've watched their father preach one thing while living another. They've seen him justify his own behavior with excuses and loopholes while holding them to impossible standards. And insiders suggest that Aurora, in particular, has had enough of it. She's done pretending that her father's words carry any weight when his actions tell a completely different story. Why should she protect her purity for some future husband when Cody didn't protect his for his future wives? The logic falls apart the second you apply it equally. And here's another layer to this mess. Something that's often severely lacking in purity culture is basic, comprehensive intimacy education. When Robyn gave away her purity at 19, did she even fully understand that the consequence could be pregnancy? Was she taught about protection, about her options, about how her body actually works? Or was she just told to stay pure and left to figure out the rest on her own? Purity culture focuses so much on the don't that it completely fails to educate young people about the how, the why, and the what if. So when someone like Robyn makes a choice she later regrets, she doesn't have the framework to process it as simply a mistake or a learning experience. Instead, she's taught that she's ruined forever. Cody perpetuates this same broken system with his own daughters. He tells them what not to do without giving them the tools to make informed decisions. He preaches control without offering education. And Aurora is finally realizing that this system was never designed to protect her. It was designed to control her, and she's walking away from it. Aurora Brown is done playing by the rules, and the evidence is absolutely everywhere if you know where to look. For years, she was the quiet one, the anxious daughter who seemed to absorb every bit of chaos in the Brown family without pushing back. But something shifted, and insiders claim that Aurora has been quietly rebelling for months now, maybe even longer. And the signs, they're impossible to ignore. First came the ear piercings, which might seem like the most minor thing in the world to most people. But in the Brown household, especially under Cody and Robyn's roof, pierced ears were treated like some kind of gateway to moral collapse. It was seen as vanity, as worldliness, as the first first step down a slippery slope toward loose morals. So when Aurora showed up with pierced ears, it wasn't just a fashion choice, it was a statement. It was her way of saying, I'm making decisions about my own body now, and you don't get a vote. And then came the dating. Aurora is out here living her life, going on dates, getting to know someone new, and she's not asking for Cody's permission or approval. Sources close to the family whisper that every time Cody tries to insert himself into Aurora's relationship, she shuts him down. Not with big dramatic arguments or emotional confrontations, just with silence. She's not engaging with his lectures, she's not defending her choices, she's simply living her truth and letting Cody sit with his own discomfort. And for a man who's used to controlling every aspect of his family's lives, that silence is deafening. The rebellion goes even deeper than appearances and dating. Word on the street suggests that Aurora has completely checked out of the belief system she was raised in. She's not pretending anymore. She's not nodding along to Cody's sermons about purity and chastity. She's not playing the role of the obedient daughter who absorbs every bit of wisdom her father dishes out. Instead, she's quietly dismantling everything she was taught and building her own value system from scratch. And that's the kind of rebellion that truly terrifies controlling parents. It's not loud, it's not messy, it's just final. Reports are surfacing that the tension between Aurora and Cody has reached an all-time high. He's watching his daughter slip further and further away from his influence, and there's nothing he can do about it. He can't guilt her into compliance. He can't shame her into submission. He can't even have a conversation with her because Aurora has made it clear that his opinions on her life are no longer welcome. Industry insiders suggest that Cody is absolutely beside himself over this. He thought he had more time. He thought Aurora would be the one daughter who stayed loyal to him and Robyn who followed the rules, who made him look good. But Aurora had other plans. She's choosing herself. She's choosing freedom over control, authenticity over performance, and her own happiness over her father's approval. And honestly, it's the most beautiful rebellion anyone could ask for. Aurora isn't destroying anything. She's just finally building a life that's actually hers. But Aurora's rebellion doesn't stop at pierced ears and dating choices. The real bombshell, the thing that has reportedly left Cody and Robyn absolutely reeling, is that Aurora and her sister Brianna have completely walked away from the church. Not just any church. The AUB, the Apostolic United Brethren, the fundamentalist Mormon organization that has been the backbone of Cody and Robyn's entire belief system. Sources close to the family reveal that both daughters have distanced themselves from Mormon fundamentalism entirely, and they've even stepped away from any congregation their parents are affiliated with. Instead, they've found their own faith community, one that aligns with their values and beliefs, not the ones forced on them since childhood. And insiders claim this has caused major tension behind closed doors. For Cody and Robyn, this isn't just about their daughters choosing a different church. This is a complete rejection of everything they stand for. The AUB isn't just a Sunday service kind of situation. It's a lifestyle, it's a worldview, it's the foundation of their entire family structure, their plural marriage, their identity. And now Aurora and Brianna are essentially saying, thanks but no thanks, we're finding our own path. The buzz in royal circles, or in this case Brown family circles, is that Robyn is taking this particularly hard. She raised her kids in this faith. She taught them the values, the principles, the stories, like that infamous purity speech. And now they're walking away from all of it. Word on the street suggests that Cody has tried multiple times to have conversations with Aurora and Brianna about their decision to leave the church. But according to reports, those conversations go nowhere. Aurora isn't interested in debating theology with her father. She's not trying to convince him that her choice is right or justify why she needed to leave. She's simply done. And that quiet finality is what makes this rebellion so devastating to Cody's ego. He can't argue with someone who refuses to engage. He can't win a battle when the other person has already left the battlefield entirely. What's even more fascinating is that Aurora and Brianna haven't just abandoned faith altogether. They've actively sought out a new community, a new spiritual home that actually resonates with them. Insiders whisper that this new faith group is more progressive, more accepting, more focused on love, and less focused on control. It's everything the AUB wasn't. And sources suggest that both sisters have found genuine peace and connection in this new space. They're not lost or confused or rebelling just for the sake of it. They're thriving. They're building a spiritual life that actually nourishes them instead of suffocating them. Behind closed doors, people are saying that Robyn sees this as a personal failure. She poured everything into raising her kids in the faith, and now two of them have walked away. And Cody? He's reportedly speechless. He doesn't know how to process daughters who don't need his guidance, who don't want his approval, who are perfectly capable of finding their own way. The control he thought he had is completely gone, and there's nothing he can do to get it back. Let's talk about what Aurora actually needs protection from, because spoiler alert, it's not her boyfriend, and it's definitely not her own choices. Cody stood there telling this young man that his job is to protect Aurora, even from himself. But the reality is that what Aurora needs protection from is the instability and chaos that has defined her entire upbringing. She needs protection from the emotional whiplash of watching her family implode. She needs protection from the anxiety of never knowing when the rug will be pulled out from under her. She needs protection from a father who has been so wrapped up in drama, favoritism, and his own ego that he's barely been present for the daughters who needed him most. Aurora has spent years living in survival mode. She's watched 3 of her father's marriages completely disintegrate. She's seen Christine pack up and leave. She's watched Janelle distance herself more and more. She's witnessed Mary exist in this limbo of rejection and longing. And through all of it, Aurora has been right there in the middle, absorbing every bit of tension, every argument, every moment of instability. Sources close to the family reveal that Aurora has struggled with severe anxiety for years. And honestly, can anyone blame her? When your entire childhood is defined by uncertainty and chaos, of course you're going to develop anxiety. Of course you're going to be constantly waiting for the next catastrophe. What Aurora actually needs, what insiders say she's finally starting to find, is stability. She needs unconditional love, the kind that doesn't come with 1,000 strings attached. She needs someone who shows up consistently, who doesn't disappear when things get hard, who doesn't play favorites or create hierarchies of affection. Word on the street suggests that Aurora's new boyfriend might actually be providing exactly that. He's reportedly kind, stable, supportive, everything Aurora has never gotten from her father. And that's probably what terrifies Cody the most. Not that this guy is going to somehow corrupt Aurora or steal her purity, but that he's going to show Aurora what real love actually looks like. And once she sees that, she'll never settle for Cody's version again. Reports are surfacing that Aurora has been in therapy, working through the trauma of her chaotic upbringing. She's unpacking years of anxiety, years of feeling like she had to be perfect to keep her family together, years of absorbing everyone else's emotions because no one was protecting hers. And through that work, sources claim Aurora is realizing that she deserves better, she deserves peace. She deserves relationships that don't leave her constantly on edge, wondering when everything is going to fall apart. She deserves a partner who sees her as an equal, not as property to be protected or controlled. Cody can lecture all he wants about protecting Aurora from the dangers of dating and physical intimacy. But the truth is, the biggest danger Aurora ever faced was growing up in a household where love was conditional, where stability was non-existent, and where her emotional needs were constantly overlooked. She's protecting herself now, and she's doing a far better job of it than Cody ever did. Here's something that's been bothering a lot of Sister Wives fans, and honestly, it's impossible to ignore once you notice it. Cody claims he almost always has this conversation with young men who come courting his daughters. He positions himself as this protective father figure who sits down every single boyfriend and lays down the law about chastity, purity, and protecting his daughters from themselves. But here's the million-dollar question. Can anyone actually recall Cody having this conversation with any of the boyfriends or fiancés of his other daughters, the ones who aren't Robyn's kids? Because the internet sure can't. And the silence is absolutely deafening. Think about it. Christine has multiple daughters who have dated, gotten engaged, gotten married. Janelle has daughters who have brought partners home. Mary has Mariah, now Leon, who's been in relationships. And yet, where were Cody's passionate purity speeches then? Where was the sit-down conversation about protecting his daughters and not kissing another man's wife? Fans have gone back through episodes, combed through footage, and the consensus is pretty clear. Cody possibly had an abbreviated version of a hormone talk with one of Mike Kelty's ex-boyfriends years ago, but it was nothing like the full-blown lecture he's delivering to Aurora's boyfriend. Nothing even close. The favoritism here is so blatant it's almost impressive. Cody has essentially admitted through his actions that Robyn's children are the only ones who matter. They're the only ones who deserve his protection, his attention, his fatherly guidance. The other kids, they've been left to figure it out on their own. And sources close to the family whisper that this disparity has not gone unnoticed. Christine's daughters, Janelle's daughters, they've all seen how differently Aurora and Brianna are treated. They've watched Cody show up for Robyn's kids in ways he never showed up for them. And the resentment, insiders claim, runs deep. What makes this even more twisted is that Aurora is the one getting this special attention, this intense focus on her purity and her choices, but she doesn't even want it. Reports are surfacing that Aurora would actually prefer if Cody stayed out of her relationship entirely. She doesn't need or want his approval. She doesn't need him interrogating her boyfriend or delivering lectures about chastity. She just wants to live her life without the constant weight of his judgment and control. But Cody can't help himself. He's so desperate to be the patriarch, to maintain some semblance of authority, that he's clinging to Aurora and using her relationship as an opportunity to assert dominance. The irony is absolutely rich. The daughters who actually might have benefited from having an involved present father, Cody ignored them. But now that Aurora is actively trying to distance herself from him, he's suddenly in full protective dad mode. It's too little, too late, and honestly, it's embarrassing. The favoritism, the double standards, the desperate attempts to stay relevant in his children's lives, it's all on full display. And Aurora is watching it all unfold with complete clarity. She sees exactly what's happening, and she's choosing to walk away anyway. So here we are, watching Aurora Brown rewrite her entire narrative in real time, and honestly, it's one of the most powerful things to come out of the Sister Wives saga in years. She's choosing herself over the toxic beliefs she was raised with. She's choosing love, stability, and support over control and shame. She's choosing to define her own worth instead of letting outdated purity culture tell her she's damaged goods if she makes one wrong move. And the best part? She's doing it all quietly, without the dramatics, without the need for validation from anyone, especially not from Cody. She's just living her life, making her choices, and letting her father sit with the reality that he no longer has any power over her. What's unfolding here is so much bigger than just a daughter dating someone new. This is a complete dismantling of everything Cody tried to build. His authority? Gone. His influence? Non-existent. His ability to control his children through fear and shame? Completely shattered. Aurora and Brianna have both walked away from the church, from the beliefs, from the entire system that was supposed to keep them obedient and compliant. And they're not just surviving on the other side, they're thriving. They've found their own faith communities, their own support systems, their own paths forward. And sources close to the family suggest that watching this happen has left Cody absolutely speechless. He doesn't have a script for daughters who don't need him. He doesn't know how to parent children who've seen through his hypocrisy and chosen something better. The rebellion isn't loud, it's not explosive, it's not giving Cody the confrontation he probably wants so he can play the victim. Instead, it's quiet, steady, and absolutely final. Aurora has drawn her boundaries and she's not budging. She's protecting her peace, her mental health, and her future from the chaos that defined her childhood. And if that means keeping Cody at arm's length, so be it. Insiders whisper that Aurora has never been happier, never been more at peace, and never been more certain that she made the right choice. She's finally free from the weight of expectations that were never hers to carry in the first place. And really, Aurora's story should inspire anyone who's ever felt trapped by toxic beliefs or controlling family dynamics. It's a reminder that you can walk away, you can redefine your values, you can choose differently, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing your own happiness over their approval. Aurora is living proof that rebellion doesn't have to be dramatic to be powerful. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is simply refuse to play the game anymore. So what do you think? Is Aurora's rebellion long overdue? Is Cody finally facing the consequences of his favoritism and hypocrisy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. The next video is waiting, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next. Until then, stay tuned, stay curious, and keep watching. This story is far from over.